Bioshock is a game where you live out your underwater superhero fantasy using drugs known as plasmids. They let you throw fire, zap enemies, and even throw objects with your mind. But I thought, nah, let's throw all that away and use only a wrench. I've heard whispers from the shadows of the internet saying the wrench is overpowered. But for someone like me who had never touched the game before, it felt less like Thor's hammer and more like a metal noodle. So that leads me to ask and hopefully answer one question. Can a beginner beat Bioshock using only a wrench? Or will I get tossed around by big daddies like an action figure in a Toys R Us aisle? Let's talk about the 2 rules set in place because every good masochist needs some boundaries. 1. The only weapon I'm allowed to use to damage enemies is the wrench. 2. I can pick up plasmids to progress the story, but I'm only allowed to use them for unlocking doors and clearing debris, no damage whatsoever. This will be a test of kiting, patience, and how many medkits I can burn through before crying over and over in a Vita chamber. I somehow survive a plane crash and decide to swim to a mysterious tower. Inside, I find what appears to be a submarine and descend into the depths of the ocean. As I sink further, I witness a breathtaking underwater city, only to witness some poor guy get filleted like a tuna immediately. As I step out, a man named Atlas starts giving me instructions like he's my GPS, but instead of telling me to turn left, he's explaining how to not get gutted. I stumble across the wrench, my first and only true love, and immediately go to town on my first Splicer. Things escalate fast from there. I get introduced to plasmids, which are magical drugs that give me superpowers. Naturally, I inject myself and immediately black out. When I wake up, there's a creepy little girl and a massive guy in a diving suit whispering about me like I'm some kind of science experiment. Luckily, they leave me alone. With my new electrical powers, I zap the door open. After dealing with more splicers, I am taught about the Little Sisters, formerly kids, now walking drug dispensers protected by big daddies, that will wreck anyone if they so much as breathe in their direction, kinda like this guy. As I stumble through this ruined city, the place goes into complete lockdown and I have to fight off waves of splicers. Then I find a theater and think,
oh nice, maybe I can watch something.
But no, baddies swarm me again, so Atlas tells me to run like a coward, and I listen. I run into a security drone blocking my way, so I decide to hack it by playing a pipe-fitting minigame. Because when I signed up for an action horror game, I was secretly hoping for a plumbing simulator. After smacking more splicers, I flip a switch to turn the lights on. Spot a doctor and chase him, but of course he blows up the doorway, forcing me to find another way. The only problem is, a massive wall of ice is blocking my path, and shocker, my powers do nothing against it. I see a sign that says Eternal Flame, which sounds promising, so I head inside, chase down a splicer who thinks throwing explosive cocktails at me is peak strategy, and eventually find the Incinerate Plasmid. So I head back and melt the block. Then the lights cut out and I get jumped in the dark, but the joke's on them because my trusty wrench still works just fine. Next I found telekinesis, which means I can now throw objects with my mind. Seems odd, but stranger things have already happened. I snag a grenade mid-air and hurl it back at the blocked doorway. I finally track down Dr. Steinman, who immediately sticks a flying death robot at me. Naturally, I hide in a corner like a genius, then run for my life when I realize that's not going to work. Steinman himself is a damage sponge. He eats wrench smacks like it's his job. I burn through all my medkits, but with a big brain move, I hack a healing station mid-fight, which keeps me alive long enough to smack the last bit of health out of him. Then I stumble into a big daddy who just got obliterated. A mysterious woman appears and tosses me a magic potion, claiming I can save the kid instead of harvesting the power. I decide to not be a monster and save this one. She scurries off like a tiny rat, but at least she rewards me with 80 Atom, which I use to boost my health. Feeling good about my moral compass, I immediately get suicide bombed by a crazed doctor and experience my first death. Before I go any deeper into the city, the game politely informs me that progressing will be very difficult unless I harvest more Atom from the Little Sisters. I take this as my cue to attempt to fight a big daddy. It does not go well. After being tossed around like a rag doll, I realize my little wrench isn't going to cut it. I retreat back to the sub, ready to dive even deeper into this nightmare. As I make my way forward, I am greeted by the shadow of Captain Hook, who immediately disappears. I quickly spot a big daddy. Naturally, my first instinct is to avoid it at all costs, so I jump off the docks only to land directly in front of a turret. I smash the turret into oblivion and find the medical expert tonic, which boosts my healing power. I'll definitely need that. Then I immediately get pincered by another turret and a gun-wielding splicer and die a tragic, unavoidable death. After respawning and collecting what's left of my dignity, I decide to follow the big daddy, because that's a safe plan. But surprise, I'm greeted by a rocket-launching turret, because bullets just weren't painful enough. I jump past it like a panicked gazelle and meet Peach Wilkins, a guy who refuses to let me through unless I get him a camera and snap some pictures of hook-handed splicers. Apparently, he has a type. Just as I'm about to leave, one of those weirdos appears, hangs around awkwardly, and then scurries back into its hidey hole. Before I go photo hunting, I decide to take out the rocket turret because it's a huge pain. Then I sprint past an army of enemies and big daddies to find myself in a room filled with turrets. I hide in a hole like a frightened raccoon. Luckily, one of the turrets self-destructs, which is both hilarious and helpful. I die again trying to take out another turret, but then an idea strikes me. I can make the rocket turret destroy its friend. Finally, I take out the last turret, grab the camera, and snap my first picture of a spider splicer. Time to unleash my inner Eddie Brock. After a few more close-up action shots, I run into another spider splicer, so I catch it crawling on the ceiling. And everything is going well until it corners me in a disgusting urine-filled bathroom and murders me. I scurry through the tunnels like a sewer rat to get my final picture before sprinting back to Wilkins like my life depends on it. Along the way, I find the Wrench Lurker Tonic, which boosts my sneak attack damage with the wrench. It's probably the best thing I've found so far, since my strategy mostly consists of ambushing people with a wrench like a maniac. With my photography assignment complete, I turn in my Spider Splicer portfolio to Peach, and he finally lets me through. But there's a catch. I have to throw away all my weapons. Little did he know, I wasn't using them anyways. Before facing Peach, I decide to clear out the security camera and annoying turret cluttering up the battlefield. Then the fight begins. I kite him around and smack him while dodging his attacks. Eventually, he corners himself in a tiny room and accidentally blows himself up. After seeing more ghostly visions, I squeeze through some tight tunnels and make my way to the smuggler's hideout. So this is the part where I finally meet Atlas in person, and I'm like,
Hey buddy, glad to see you're not just a voice in my head.
but before we can hug it out, a bunch of splicers crash the party and ambush us like it's Black Friday at Best Buy. I make quick work of the goons just in time to not save his family from being blown up in a submarine explosion. We mourn, and by mourn I mean I sprint full speed into the next area, Arcadia, like nothing happened. Now I'm nature's last hope, except the vibes are off because there are ghosts everywhere, and I'm chasing a teleporting, flame-throwing splicer like some kind of Scooby-Doo chase. Just when I think things can't get worse, someone starts gassing up the trees, and I don't mean in a go trees kind of way. No, I mean literal toxic gas, because apparently photosynthesis is controversial now. I stumble into what looks like a splicer ritual, which naturally I crash like an uninvited guest. The fireball guy is back, so I go full aggressive Home Depot and end him. Next up, I need a rose specimen, because saving the ecosystem apparently involves flower shopping. Right as I'm about to grab it, zap! I walked into a shock trap that fried my last brain cell. But hey, I ended up getting the rose, so I limp on over to meet the mad scientist queen herself, Dr. Langford. She's got that I know everything and have zero patience for you energy, and I respect that. But then Ryan pulls the old kill everyone with gas card again. Dude seriously has a problem. Langford, being the legend she is, managed to write the door code with her dying hands. I punch the code and open the safe, and inside is the Krabby Patty secret formula. Now that I've got the magic juice, I stock up on medkits like a responsible adult. But surprise, I die. A lot. This formula is so powerful the game turns up the You Suck difficulty slider. After crawling my way out of Langford's lab, I make a pit stop at the farmer's market because nothing says end of the world like running errands. First task is to get 7 enzyme samples from a bunch of killer beehives. Yes, I'm now stealing honey from radioactive bees. Next, I'm off to collect 7 distilled waters like I'm building a Brita filter from scratch. Finally, I need 7 chlorophyll solutions, which you can only get by killing Houdini splicers. You know, the ones that teleport, throw fire, and probably pay taxes in a dimension I can't reach. With my plant potion ingredients in hand, I head back to the lab, trigger a few alarms, and get chased by bots that can't keep up with my Olympic sprinting skills. I load up the supplies in the eco machine, which then proceeds to install itself slower than Windows updates. Cue the wave after wave of angry splicers while I defend. Eventually, I deploy the machine, save the trees, and officially earn the title of photosynthesis prodigy. With the oxygen flowing again and my sanity barely intact, it's time to head off to the submarine. Before progressing, I decide to backtrack to the beginning of the game, because I missed some goodies, and also it's time to finally throw hands with a Big Daddy. While wandering around, I see the ominous shadow of a doctor, but the second the lights go out, he disappears. I find a new tonic and head out, only for the doc to appear out of nowhere and try to jump me. He gets bodied, so he should have just stayed in the shadows. Then I spot another tonic behind a locked door, and like any good loot goblin, I immediately go on a side quest. Turret disabled. Vent crawled. Tonic acquired. It's the wrench jockey, which turns my wrench into Thor's hammer if Thor was super into plumbing. Naturally, this goes straight into my head, and I declare war on the nearest Big Daddy, armed with only my wrench and poor decisions. A few glorious, soul-crushing deaths later, I finally learn his attack pattern, get the timing down, and win the fight on sheer stubbornness. Since Atlas lost his family, I figured let's play it his way. I absorbed the atom from the little sister. Turns out it gives you double the reward over saving them. Sorry, kiddo. I immediately blow my newly earned atom on the armored shell tonic, which makes me tankier. Confidence at an all-time high, I strut into the next area, buy some upgrades, and run into another Big Daddy, who's already at half HP. Naturally, I think easy money. I crush him, only to find out he wasn't even guarding a little sister. No Adam, just pure regret. Luckily, another Big Daddy strolls in like it's open mic night, and I dive into another fight. Zero trouble, except for all the dying. Eventually, I win and get more Adam to feed my addiction to genetic power-ups. Back in Arcadia, I try to recreate the ritual I interrupted earlier, thinking something cool might happen. Spoiler alert, it's nothing. After that, I buy even more upgrades and stumble into a Big Daddy versus Big Daddy showdown. This is it, the main event. I sit back, grab some popcorn, and watch the heavyweight fight unfold. When one goes down, I swoop in like a vulture and scoop up the Adam. Then I chip away at the second Big Daddy and end up even more powerful than before. Now fully juiced up with every upgrade I could dream of, I decide to get back on track. Except I pull a Zorro from One Piece and get so lost I accidentally sprint through the entire smuggler's hideout and back to Neptune's bounty before finally finding the way to the Fort Frolic-bound submarine. Here I meet the one and only Sander Cohen, the world's most flamboyant serial killer with a flair for theatrics. His first test? Spider splicers. Cute. I introduce them to Mr. Wrench and suddenly it's raining limbs. I slap the next door no less than 100 times like a raccoon trying to get into a vending machine before it finally opens. Inside, it's Kyle Fitzpatrick, casually tickling the ivories, until he explodes. Naturally, I do the only logical thing and take a photo of his smoldering corpse. Back at Cohen's artsy murder gallery, I place the photo on the monument and he rewards me with a Daryl Dixon starter kit. Now I need 3 more murder models to complete Cohen's cursed Pinterest board. The next victim is Martin Finnegan, who instantly freezes me. While he is too busy running his mouth, I thaw out and end his life. Upon his death, I am rewarded with a frozen field tonic, which gives my wrench the ability to freeze enemies. I take his photo and add it to the artwork. Then comes Silas Cobb, who locks me in a room and chucks flying splicers at me like it's karaoke night in hell. I escape, flatten him, and get another lovely corpse portrait for Cohen's collection. My reward this time? A Splicer mosh pit, because Cohen knows violence is my love language. While wandering around, I hit the slot machines and won $25 on my first try. This just so happens to be the most unrealistic part of the entire game. I then follow the ghost of a murdered stripper, Rapture just keeps giving, to find Hector Rodriguez, our final contestant. He tries to run and fails. Say cheese, Hector. With all the photos in place, Cohen shows up to admire his masterpiece and steal all the credit. So naturally, I introduce him to the back end of my wrench. He vanishes like an unpaid intern and turns the whole place into a Where's Waldo boss fight. Eventually, I take him down. I track down a Big Daddy who's already fighting a Splicer. I naturally help the Splicer, who burns the big guy to a crisp. I claim my well-deserved Adam and head to Andrew Ryan's office, also known as the world's creepiest bachelor pad. His taste in decor, let's just say it screams midlife crisis with cult energy. While snooping around, I score Frozen Field 2 because apparently turning enemies into ice sculptures is my new hobby. After a solid chunk of monologuing, I end up in Kyber's workshop, where this genius was building a bomb, but surprise, he left it unfinished. Now it's on me to find the parts. I stock up on some upgrades, then get baited into what I think is a heal station, but turns out to be a surprise explosion machine. I managed to snag the iconic gel and nitroglycerin like I'm baking a cake of doom, but the wires are only found on Big Daddies. Time for another episode of Daddy Fight Club. I get 2 of them to brawl it out, sneak in post-KO, and nab both the Adam and the wires. The last Daddy? Yeah, I had to fight that one. Took about 400 medkits, 3 mental breakdowns, and a motivational speech, but I got it done. With all the parts in hand, I waddle back to the workshop, assemble the bomb, and casually toss it into my clown car-sized inventory. To get to the core, I need to spin a giant wheel to move lava, because apparently plumbing hell is a requirement in the underwater death trap. Every time I so much as touch the wheel, a splicer pops out like it's on a timer. They all get the VIP wrench services. Eventually, I flush the water like I'm unclogging Rapture's toilet and hop into the elevator to go down. Naturally, I immediately take another elevator back up. I slap down the bomb, and as expected, Rapture starts losing its mind. Everything's shaking, sirens are wailing, and I'm just speedrunning into Ryan's office like I forgot to clock out at work. Before entering, I stock up on medkits like I'm raiding a CVS. Then I finally meet the man himself, Andrew Ryan, casually playing golf like it's a Sunday brunch.
Shot.
He drops the big twist. Turns out I've been mind-controlled the whole time by Atlas. All he has to say is, "Would you kindly?" and I follow his orders. Which means everything I've done up to this point was just following instructions like a well-armed golden retriever. So, would you kindly like and subscribe? You have to do it now. What are you waiting for? He proves his point by
Nice
commanding me
shot.
to brain him with a 9-iron, and I do it.
Nice shot.
I grab his key to stop the self-destruct sequence, but surprise, Atlas was actually Frank Fontaine all along, and his dead family? A total scam. Oscar-worthy acting. Give the man a Splicer Emmy. A little sister appears and leads me into the doctor's hidey hole, where she partially cures my mind slave condition. Suddenly, I'm just sitting there like, dang, maybe harvesting those kids wasn't the peak moral move. With my head mostly unscrambled, I follow a little sister to the next zone to find the rest of the cure. Along the way, I find a sweet fan letter for the doctor. I grab the first dose of Lot 192, and immediately my plasmids start bugging out. Great, now I'm a roulette wheel of superpowers. Right as I go to bonk something, I accidentally shoot fire at a turret. Now I have to restart the whole run. Eventually, I chug the second dose and break free from Frank's spooky magic. I head to Point Prometheus, where Fontaine pulls a classic cartoon villain move and starts a Tom and Jerry chase. He vanishes, and I am left with a new task: become a big daddy. Step 1 is to find the boots. Now I stomp like a walking earthquake. Naturally, I take a quick break to blow all my atom on more upgrades. Next, I track down the helmet and body armor, which officially makes me a walking tank, basically immortal. Only problem? I don't smell like one. Apparently, Big Daddies come with a signature stench, so now I have to collect 3 scent samples. The final step is to sound like one. Because it's not enough to be daddy, you gotta grunt like one too. Now I'm officially a full-on Big Daddy, minus the emotional baggage. The only catch? I can't walk over dead bodies anymore. I wake up a little sister and begin my guided tour through the proving grounds, where I get to play Super Dad Simulator and protect her from all psychopaths. The grand finale kicks off with tragedy. I watch one of my fellow daddies get flattened like a rusty pancake. Now it's my turn to babysit the little sister as she starts extracting Adam from test subjects. Second subject, same deal. Splicers show up thinking it's their turn for snack time, but I serve them a full course meal of wrench and regret. On the way to the third one, we hit a waterlogged hallway. My movement becomes molasses, and I fail to protect the little sister. Luckily, Tenenbaum's got an infinite supply of children in holes, so I ring up another one like I'm ordering fast food. The third subject, easy peasy. We're almost out when Big Daddy Kool-Aid Man busts through a wall like, oh yeah! Unfortunately, my tiny companion wants to cuddle during combat, sticking closer to me than a cat with abandonment issues. After an exhausting dance, the better-looking daddy comes out on top. The kiddo scurries through a wall, but before disappearing, she hands me the Adam Extractomatic, aka the magical juice straw for Frank Fontaine. I roll up to find Frank's final form, and man, is he looking rough. He went full glowing with more Adam than I thought possible. Phase 1, Fire Frank. He comes in hot, but I douse him quick and give him the sweet, sweet Sucky Sucky. Phase 2, Zap Boy Supreme. This one was a bit more annoying. He sent flying drones at me like he subscribed to the Walmart Ultron starter pack. Still, I tank through it and deliver Sucky number 2. Phase 3, Ice Ice Maybe. He brings backup this time. Some Splicer sidekicks, but they only make him die tired. One final Sucky and he's toast. Just as I think it's over, the little sisters roll up, squad deep, and gang up on Frank. It's adorable and horrifying. I black out and wake up weirdly annoyed at the girls who just saved my life. Then plot twist. A bunch of Marines stumble across the plane wreckage only to get ambushed by leftover Splicers. The game finally ends with a casual nuke sighting. So yes, it's 100% possible to beat Bioshock with just a wrench. If you want me to play Bioshock 2 and suffer even more, leave a comment with the most unreasonable challenge imaginable. Thank you for watching, and would you kindly have an awesome day.